Have you ever felt tired? Not because life is hard, but because you are tired of pretending to be okay. Tired of telling yourself to stay positive. Tired of trying to feel grateful when your heart feels heavy. Tired of scrolling through smiling faces while quietly wondering why it seems so easy for everyone else. There is a silent suffering that comes from trying to be happy all the time, and the world never questions it. It only tells you to try harder. But Buddhism offers a different path. It does not tell you to force joy. It teaches you to stop fighting your reality. And when you finally stop trying to manufacture happiness, something unexpected begins to happen. Real peace starts to grow. Stop treating happiness as a goal. The first mistake most people make is turning happiness into a destination, as if it is a city they will finally arrive at after enough struggle, effort, and improvement. They quietly build a mental finish line and tell themselves, "When I achieve this promotion, then I will relax. When I fix my relationship, then I will feel secure. When I lose this weight, earn this money, gain this recognition, become this stronger version of myself, then I will finally allow myself to be happy." On the surface, this sounds logical and even motivating. But beneath it, there is a hidden trap. Because every time you reach one goal, the mind creates another. The finish line moves further away. The condition changes. The then never arrives. This way of thinking creates what Buddhism calls subtle suffering. You may not notice it immediately, but it lives in the background of your mind as constant tension. You wake up feeling slightly incomplete. You move through your day with the quiet belief that something is missing. Even when good things happen, you struggle to fully enjoy them because your attention is already focused on what still needs to be fixed. Happiness becomes something reserved for a future version of your life, while the present moment feels like a waiting room you must endure. Buddhism teaches that attachment to outcomes is the root of suffering because it ties your emotional state to circumstances that are unstable and outside your control. When you say, "I will only be happy when this happens," you are placing your inner peace in the hands of conditions that may or may not unfold the way you expect. Life is unpredictable. Plans shift. People change. Results do not always match effort. When happiness is dependent on a specific outcome, you create fragility inside yourself. Your mood rises and falls with external events. You become a prisoner of circumstances. There is also another deeper problem. When happiness becomes a goal, it becomes something you try to manufacture. You start analyzing your emotions, checking if you feel good enough, judging yourself when you do not. You might think, "Why am I not happier? Other people seem happier. I should feel grateful. I should feel better than this." And now, happiness is no longer a natural state. It has turned into a performance. You are not just living, you are constantly evaluating whether you are living correctly. This constant evaluation creates pressure. Pressure creates tension, and tension blocks the very peace you are trying to reach. Imagine trying to fall asleep while desperately forcing yourself to sleep. The more you try, the more awake you become. Happiness works in a similar way. It cannot be forced through effort. It appears when effort relaxes. Buddhism offers a different path. Instead of treating happiness as a future reward, it teaches you to focus on right action, right intention, and right awareness in this moment. Right action means doing what is aligned with your values, not because it guarantees happiness later, but because it is the truthful thing to do now. Right intention means acting from clarity rather than from fear or desperation. Right awareness means being fully present with what is happening, instead of constantly escaping into what should happen next. When you shift your focus from "how do I become happy" to "how do I live honestly in this moment," something subtle changes. You stop postponing your life. You begin to notice small, ordinary experiences that were always available but overlooked. the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the quiet rhythm of your breathing, the simple satisfaction of completing a task with sincerity. These moments do not scream happiness, they whisper contentment. Peace grows quietly when you stop chasing it and start living truthfully now. It grows when you release the demand that life must look a certain way before you allow yourself to feel okay. It grows when you accept that happiness is not a destination at the end of a perfect road, but a natural byproduct of inner alignment. When your actions match your values, when your expectations soften, when you stop arguing with reality, a calm steadiness begins to form. You realize that happiness is not something you reach. It is something that gently appears when you stop running. Stop fighting your unhappy emotions. The second mistake people make when trying to be happy is believing that negative emotions are obstacles that must be removed as quickly as possible. The moment sadness appears, they try to suppress it. When anxiety arises, they distract themselves. When loneliness shows up, they scroll, eat, work, or talk just to escape the discomfort. There is an unspoken belief that if you are spiritually mature or mentally strong, you should not feel heavy emotions at all. So instead of allowing feelings to move naturally, people begin fighting their own inner world. But here is the truth Buddhism gently teaches. What you resist persists. The more you try to push an emotion away, the more energy you give it. Imagine trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The harder you push it down, the stronger it pushes back up. Emotions work in a similar way. When you say, "I should not feel this," you create a second layer of suffering on top of the first. Now you are not only sad, you are ashamed of being sad. You are not only anxious, you are frustrated that anxiety exists. This internal conflict doubles the pain. Buddhism does not teach emotional suppression. It teaches mindful awareness. Emotions are not enemies. They are temporary mental states arising due to conditions. Just like clouds in the sky, they form, change, shape, and dissolve. But when you panic about the cloud, when you try to control the weather, you exhaust yourself. The sky itself is not damaged by clouds. In the same way, your deeper awareness is not damaged by emotions. They pass through you, but they are not you. When sadness appears, instead of labeling it as failure, simply observe it. Notice where it lives in the body. Maybe it feels like heaviness in your chest or tightness in your throat. Instead of running, stay, breathe. Say gently in your mind, "This is sadness. It is here right now." Do not judge it. Do not analyze it. Just allow it space. Something surprising happens when you do this. The emotion begins to soften, not because you forced it away, but because you stopped feeding it resistance. Many people think that allowing emotions will make them stronger, but the opposite is true. When you give an emotion permission to exist without panic, it loses intensity. It becomes a wave that rises and falls naturally. Fighting emotions traps them. Accepting them frees them. There is also wisdom inside emotions. Anxiety may be showing you attachment to control. Anger may be revealing unmet expectations. Loneliness may be pointing toward a deeper need for connection with yourself, not just others. When you stop fighting emotions, you begin listening to them. They become teachers instead of threats. Happiness does not come from eliminating uncomfortable feelings. It comes from developing the capacity to remain steady in their presence. True inner peace is not a life without storms. It is the ability to sit calmly while storms pass through. When you stop fighting your unhappy emotions, you stop exhausting yourself. You stop turning temporary feelings into permanent suffering. You realize that emotions are weather, not identity. And in that realization, a quiet freedom begins to grow. Not forced happiness, not fake positivity, but a grounded calm that exists even when life feels imperfect. Stop comparing your inner world to someone else's outer life. One of the most silent yet powerful reasons people struggle to feel happy is comparison. You may not even notice how often it happens. It is subtle. You scroll through social media and see someone smiling on vacation. You hear about a friend's promotion. You watch someone else fall in love, build a business, buy a house, or seem confident and at peace. And without realizing it, your mind begins measuring. It quietly asks, why am I not there yet? What am I doing wrong? Why does their life look easier than mine? What makes comparison so dangerous is that you are comparing two completely different things. You are comparing your inner world, your doubts, your fears, your private struggles, your unfinished growth, to someone else's outer presentation. You see their highlights, but you live inside your behind-the-scenes reality. Of course it will feel unfair. Of course it will feel like you are behind. But the comparison itself is built on illusion. Buddhism teaches that comparison arises from the ego's need to measure worth. The mind constantly categorizes life into better and worse, ahead and behind, successful and failing. It creates a mental scoreboard and assumes happiness belongs to whoever appears to be winning. But happiness does not belong to the one who looks the most successful. It belongs to the one who is not fighting their own path. When you compare, you unknowingly reject your present moment. You tell yourself that where you are is not enough, that your pace is too slow, that your struggles mean you are failing. This creates quiet dissatisfaction. Even when something good happens in your life, it feels smaller because you are measuring it against someone else's progress. You rob yourself of gratitude because your attention is focused on what others have. The truth is, every person walks a different karmic path. Everyone carries unseen burdens. The person who looks confident may be fighting anxiety. The person who looks wealthy may feel empty. The person who looks in love may struggle privately. You never see the full story, yet your mind acts as if you do. Comparison also creates pressure to force happiness. You may think, if they can be happy, I should be too. So instead of honoring your natural emotional state, you try to imitate what happiness looks like. You smile when you do not feel like smiling. You pretend you are fine when you are not. This is exhausting. It disconnects you from authenticity. Buddhism invites you to return to your own lane. Instead of asking, how do I compare? Ask, am I growing from who I was yesterday? Instead of measuring yourself against someone else's chapter 10, focus on understanding your chapter 1. Life is not synchronized. Some lessons take longer. Some seasons feel slower. That does not mean you are behind. It means you are unfolding at your own rhythm. When you release comparison, something deeply calming happens. You stop rushing, you stop proving, you stop performing. You begin to see your journey as uniquely yours. Your struggles become part of your development, not evidence of failure. Your quiet progress becomes meaningful, even if nobody applauds it. Peace begins when you allow your life to move at its natural pace. Happiness is not found by outrunning others. It is found by no longer competing with them in your mind. The moment you stop measuring yourself against someone else's life, you reclaim your energy. And in that reclaimed energy, a steady and grounded contentment begins to grow. Stop trying to control every outcome. Another reason happiness feels so far away is because you are trying to control life too tightly. You may not call it control. You might call it planning, being responsible, being careful, or protecting yourself. But deep inside, there is a constant need for certainty. You want to know how things will turn out. You want reassurance that your efforts will pay off. You want guarantees that people will stay, that plans will succeed, that your future will be safe. And when life does not cooperate with your expectations, frustration begins to grow. The mind believes that if it can control everything, it can finally relax. It believes that peace will come after everything is stable, predictable, and secure. But here is the hidden truth Buddhism reveals. Control is an illusion. You can control your actions, your words, your effort, and your choices, but you cannot control how others respond. You cannot control unexpected events. You cannot control time, aging, loss, or change. And when you try to control what is uncontrollable, you create constant tension inside yourself. This tension shows up as overthinking. You replay conversations in your head. You imagine worst-case scenarios. You try to prepare for every possible problem. You feel responsible for preventing every mistake, and slowly, your nervous system never truly rests. Even when nothing is wrong, your mind is searching for what could go wrong. You may appear calm on the outside, but inside there is pressure, like a tight grip that never loosens. Buddhism teaches the principle of impermanence. Everything changes, relationships evolve, bodies age, circumstances shift, emotions rise and fall. Even your own identity transforms over time. When you deeply accept impermanence, you stop demanding that life remain fixed. You stop insisting that things must stay comfortable for you to feel okay. You begin to understand that change is not a threat. It is the nature of reality. Trying to control every outcome is like trying to stop the ocean from moving. The waves will come whether you approve of them or not. But you can learn how to swim, you can learn how to float. You can learn how to respond with balance instead of panic. Peace does not come from having a life without uncertainty. It comes from building a mind that can remain steady within uncertainty. There is also fear beneath the need for control, fear of being hurt, fear of being disappointed, fear of losing what you love. So you tighten your grip, believing that holding on harder will protect you. But the tighter you hold, the more anxious you become. Control creates the illusion of safety, but it actually feeds insecurity. You are always waiting for something to go wrong. When you release excessive control, you are not becoming careless. You are becoming wise. You still take responsibility, you still act with intention, but you stop attaching your peace to specific outcomes. You say to yourself, "I will do my best, and I will accept whatever result comes." This mindset reduces pressure immediately. You are no longer fighting reality, you are cooperating with it. Acceptance does not mean liking everything that happens. It means recognizing that resistance does not change what already is. When something unexpected happens, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "How can I respond skillfully to this?" That small shift changes everything. It moves you from helplessness to empowerment without demanding control over the uncontrollable. Happiness cannot survive inside a rigid mind. It needs flexibility, it needs space, it needs trust. When you stop trying to control every detail of your life, your body relaxes, your breathing slows. Your thoughts soften. You realize that you have been carrying the weight of the entire future on your shoulders, and you gently put it down. Life will never be perfectly predictable, but you do not need it to be. What you need is inner stability, not outer certainty. And inner stability grows when you accept that control has limits. The more you trust the unfolding of life while focusing on your own right effort, the more peaceful you become. When you release the obsession with controlling outcomes, you free yourself from constant anxiety. You create room for patience, you create room for resilience. And in that spaciousness, a deeper form of happiness begins to emerge, not because everything is guaranteed, but because you are no longer fighting the natural flow of existence. Stop seeking constant pleasure. Another reason happiness feels so unstable is because many people confuse it with pleasure. Modern culture constantly tells you that feeling good means being entertained, stimulated, excited, or distracted. If you feel bored, uncomfortable, or quiet, something must be wrong. So you fill every empty space with noise. You scroll through your phone, you watch another episode, you buy something new. You chase another experience. You tell yourself that if you can just keep the good feelings coming, you will finally feel happy. But pleasure and happiness are not the same thing. Pleasure is intense but temporary. It depends on conditions. It requires something external to trigger it. And once the stimulation fades, the mind immediately searches for the next source. This creates a cycle of craving. You feel restless without something to look forward to. You feel uncomfortable in stillness. You begin to believe that happiness must always feel exciting or dramatic. Buddhism teaches that craving is one of the roots of suffering. When the mind constantly wants more stimulation, more validation, more comfort, it never feels satisfied. Even when you get what you want, the satisfaction fades quickly. The mind adapts. What once felt thrilling becomes normal. Then it wants something bigger, something new, something stronger. And this endless wanting quietly drains your peace. You may notice this in small ways. You finally buy something you have wanted for months. For a few days it feels special. Then it becomes ordinary. You achieve a goal and feel proud. Soon after, the pride fades and a new goal appears. You enjoy attention and approval, then you fear losing it. Pleasure always carries anxiety because it depends on something outside you remaining available. The nervous system also becomes overstimulated when it is constantly chasing pleasure. When you are always consuming information, entertainment, or distractions, your mind never fully rests. Silence begins to feel uncomfortable. You avoid being alone with your thoughts because stillness exposes what you have been avoiding. And so you continue searching for the next distraction, believing it will make you happy. Buddhism offers a different understanding. True contentment is quiet. It is not dramatic. It is not loud. It does not spike your emotions. It feels simple and grounded. It feels like sitting peacefully without needing anything to change. It feels like enjoying ordinary moments without craving something more exciting. It feels stable rather than intense. When you reduce unnecessary stimulation, something surprising happens. At first, it may feel uncomfortable. Your mind may feel restless. You may feel bored. But if you stay with that discomfort gently, your nervous system begins to calm down. Your thoughts slow. Your breathing deepens. You begin to notice small details you once overlooked. The sound of birds. The feeling of air on your skin. The rhythm of your own breath. These simple experiences do not create excitement, but they create ease. There is a difference between excitement and peace. Excitement rises quickly and falls quickly. Peace builds slowly and remains steady. When you chase constant pleasure, you train your mind to depend on intensity. When you practice simplicity, you train your mind to appreciate stability. This does not mean you must reject enjoyment. Buddhism does not demand that you remove all pleasure from your life. It teaches moderation and awareness. Enjoy what arises without clinging to it. Experience pleasure without believing it is the source of your worth. Let experiences come and go without chasing them desperately. Happiness begins to grow when craving weakens. When you no longer feel desperate for the next moment to be better than this one, you relax into the present. You stop running from boredom. You stop fearing silence. You stop needing constant stimulation to feel alive. And in that quiet space, something deeper than pleasure begins to form. A gentle contentment, a grounded sense of enoughness, a calm appreciation for what already exists. This form of happiness is not loud, but it is reliable. It does not depend on constant excitement. It grows from simplicity, awareness, and the absence of craving. When you stop seeking constant pleasure, you stop exhausting yourself. You allow your mind to settle, and when the mind settles, happiness no longer feels like something you must chase. It feels like something that quietly lives within you. Stop judging yourself for not feeling good. There is a hidden layer of suffering that many people do not talk about. It is not just sadness, not just anxiety, not just emptiness. It is the judgment that comes after the emotion. It is the voice that says, "Why am I like this? I should be stronger than this. I should be more positive. I should not feel this way." And slowly, the original pain becomes heavier because now it is wrapped in shame. You may wake up one day feeling low for no clear reason. Nothing dramatic has happened. Your life may even look fine from the outside. Yet inside, your energy feels drained, your mind feels cloudy, and your heart feels heavy. Instead of allowing that state to exist, you begin attacking yourself. You compare yourself to who you think you should be. You replay motivational advice in your head. You try to push yourself into feeling better. But the harder you push, the more distant balance feels. Buddhism teaches that suffering is not only caused by painful experiences, but by the resistance and identification that follow them. When an emotion arises, it is simply a mental state conditioned by countless factors: sleep, stress, hormones, past experiences, current environment, and subtle thoughts you may not even notice. Emotions are natural movements within the human experience. They are not moral failures. They are not signs that you are spiritually behind. Yet many people believe that being calm and happy all the time is proof of growth. So when they feel off, they assume something is wrong with them. This belief creates self-judgment. And self-judgment is one of the most destructive habits for inner peace. It divides you against yourself. One part of you is struggling, and another part is criticizing the struggle. Instead of compassion, you create conflict. Imagine a child who falls and begins to cry. If you respond by scolding the child for crying, the pain increases. But if you respond with gentleness, the child naturally settles. The same principle applies to your own inner world. When sadness appears and you respond with harshness, the emotion intensifies. When you respond with understanding, the emotion softens. Buddhism emphasizes compassion, not perfection, especially self-compassion. The Buddha did not teach that you must eliminate all difficult emotions immediately. He taught awareness and kindness toward your own mind. You are a human being experiencing changing conditions. Some days your mind will feel light. Other days it will feel heavy. This does not mean you are regressing. It means you are alive. There is also a deeper illusion hidden in self-judgment, the belief that you are your emotions. When you say, "I am broken," or "I am weak," you fuse your identity with a temporary state. But emotions are not identity. They are passing experiences. You are the awareness observing them. When you separate yourself from the emotion, even slightly, space appears. Instead of "I am depressed," you gently shift to "there is heaviness present right now." That small shift reduces suffering. Self-judgment also keeps you trapped in the future. You think, "I need to fix myself. I need to improve. I need to become better." But peace does not begin with fixing. It begins with accepting what is already here. Growth does not come from hatred toward yourself. It comes from clarity and patience. When you stop judging yourself for not feeling good, your nervous system relaxes. The inner war quiets down. You no longer feel like you must constantly improve your emotional state. You allow it to move naturally. And often, when you stop attacking your mood, it changes on its own. There is great strength in gentleness. It may not look powerful, but it is deeply transformative. Harshness creates fear, compassion creates safety, and the mind heals faster in safety than in fear. So instead of asking, "Why am I not happier?" ask, Can I be kind to myself in this moment? Instead of forcing positivity, offer patience. Instead of criticizing your struggle, acknowledge your effort. Even simply recognizing this is a difficult day, without adding blame, creates space. Happiness cannot grow in soil filled with self-rejection. It grows in soil nourished by acceptance. When you treat yourself with understanding, you stop making temporary emotions into permanent suffering. You learn to sit with discomfort without turning it into identity. And slowly, without forcing it, something shifts. Not dramatic joy, not overwhelming excitement, but a quiet inner safety, a sense that no matter what emotion arises, you will not abandon yourself. And in that steady self-acceptance, a deeper and more stable form of happiness begins to unfold naturally. Stop searching for happiness outside yourself. Build inner stability instead. There is one final mistake that quietly keeps people stuck in the cycle of forced happiness. It is the belief that something outside of them must change before they can feel okay inside. A better relationship, more money, more recognition, more understanding from others, a different environment, a different body, a different life story. The mind keeps whispering, if this improves, then I will finally feel at peace. And so you spend years trying to rearrange the outside world, hoping the inside will follow. But the outside world is unstable by nature. People change, circumstances shift, success rises and falls, approval comes and goes, even your own preferences evolve over time. If your happiness depends entirely on these unstable conditions, your emotional state will always feel fragile. You will feel calm when life cooperates and anxious when it does not. You will feel worthy when praised and uncertain when ignored. This creates emotional dependency. Buddhism teaches that true stability does not come from controlling or perfecting the external world. It comes from cultivating steadiness within. This does not mean you stop improving your life. It means you stop expecting outer change to permanently fix inner unrest. You begin to understand that external comfort can enhance happiness, but it cannot create lasting peace. Think about moments in your life when everything looked fine from the outside, yet something still felt missing inside. That feeling is proof that external conditions alone cannot guarantee contentment. And now think about moments when life was not perfect, yet you felt surprisingly calm because you had accepted what was happening. That calmness did not come from circumstances, it came from your inner response. When you search for happiness outside yourself, you unknowingly give your power away. Your mood becomes controlled by events. If someone appreciates you, you feel uplifted. If someone criticizes you, you feel crushed. If something succeeds, you feel worthy. If something fails, you feel small. You become like a leaf moved by every wind. Buddhism invites you to build roots instead of chasing wind. Inner stability means developing awareness that is steady regardless of temporary conditions. It means recognizing that thoughts are not commands. Emotions are not permanent truths. Circumstances are not your identity. It means grounding yourself in presence rather than in outcomes. This inner stability is built slowly, through meditation, through mindful breathing, through honest self-reflection, through observing your reactions without immediately acting on them. Every time you pause instead of reacting impulsively, you strengthen your inner foundation. Every time you choose patience over panic, you build resilience. Every time you sit with discomfort without running, you deepen your strength. When you cultivate inner stability, external events lose some of their power over you. You still feel emotions, but they do not control your decisions. You still care about your goals, but they do not define your worth. You still experience pleasure, but you do not depend on it for identity. There is a quiet center inside you that remains steady even when life moves unpredictably. Many people think happiness should feel like constant excitement, but inner stability feels different. It feels like calm confidence. It feels like trust in yourself. It feels like knowing that even if things go wrong, you can handle it. That sense of groundedness is far more powerful than temporary joy. When you stop searching outside and begin strengthening inside, something shifts deeply. You stop begging life to be easier. You start preparing yourself to be stronger. You stop waiting for perfect circumstances. You begin practicing balanced awareness right now. And here is the paradox. When you no longer desperately depend on external things for happiness, you actually enjoy them more, because you are not clinging. You are not afraid of losing them. You appreciate them while they are present and accept when they change. That freedom creates lightness. Happiness is not something the world hands to you. It is something that quietly grows when your inner world becomes stable, when you know how to sit with yourself without panic, when you know how to respond instead of react, when you know that your worth does not rise and fall with circumstances. Stop searching for happiness outside yourself. Build the foundation within. Strengthen your awareness. Practice patience. Develop compassion. Root yourself in presence. Because when your inner world becomes steady, happiness no longer feels like something you chase. It feels like something that gently accompanies you wherever you go. Stop turning every moment into a self-improvement project. There is one more hidden trap that keeps happiness out of reach, and it is especially common among people who genuinely want to grow. It is the habit of turning every experience into something that must be optimized, fixed, upgraded, or improved. You wake up and immediately think about how to be more productive. You feel an emotion and immediately analyze how to heal it. You notice a flaw and immediately create a plan to eliminate it. On the surface, this looks disciplined and ambitious. But underneath, it can become another form of self-rejection. When you treat every moment as a project, you quietly send yourself a message. As you are right now, you are not enough. Even your sadness becomes something to repair. Even your quiet days become something to maximize. Even your rest becomes something to justify. Life turns into a constant checklist of becoming better instead of simply being present. Buddhism teaches that suffering often comes from craving and aversion, but it also comes from constant striving. Striving is subtle. It is the feeling that you must always be progressing, always healing, always transforming. There is nothing wrong with growth. Growth is natural. But when growth becomes obsession, it steals your peace. You begin to feel guilty for not evolving fast enough. You feel behind in your own journey. Many people cannot sit still without thinking about what they should be doing differently. If they meditate, they measure whether they are improving. If they journal, they judge the quality of their insight. If they take a break, they worry about wasting time. Even spiritual practice becomes another standard to meet. This constant self-monitoring creates pressure. The mind never fully relaxes because it is always evaluating performance. You are not just living, you are grading yourself while living. And happiness cannot grow in an environment where you are constantly under inspection. There is a difference between intentional growth and restless self-improvement. Intentional growth is gentle. It unfolds naturally from awareness. Restless self-improvement is driven by dissatisfaction. It is fueled by the belief that something is wrong with you right now. Buddhism invites you to release that harsh belief. You are allowed to exist without constantly fixing yourself. You are allowed to experience a moment without improving it. You are allowed to sit quietly without turning the silence into a productivity tool. Not every breath must lead to transformation. Some breaths are simply meant to be breathed. When you stop turning every moment into a project, you begin to taste life more directly. You drink tea without analyzing how mindful you are. You walk without calculating how many steps you are taking. You rest without feeling guilty. You feel sadness without trying to convert it into wisdom immediately. This does not mean you abandon growth. It means you allow growth to happen organically rather than forcing it. Nature does not rush. A tree does not strain to grow taller overnight. It grows because the conditions support it. In the same way, you grow when awareness, patience, and compassion are present. But when you constantly push yourself to evolve faster, you create tension, and tension blocks clarity. There is also deep freedom in allowing yourself to be unfinished. You do not need to solve your entire life today. You do not need to have perfect emotional control. You do not need to be the most disciplined, the most calm, or the most enlightened version of yourself right now. You are a process, not a product. Happiness is not the reward for perfect self-improvement. It is the byproduct of self-acceptance. When you stop treating yourself like a problem to solve, you relax. And in that relaxation, joy appears more naturally. Stop measuring your growth every day. Stop demanding constant progress. Stop turning your humanity into a performance. Instead, practice simple presence. Practice allowing. Practice breathing without goals. Because sometimes the deepest peace does not come from becoming better. It comes from finally realizing you do not need to be constantly fixed to be worthy of happiness. Stop demanding that life feel good. All the time learn to be at peace with what is. There is one final misunderstanding that keeps people trapped in the exhausting pursuit of happiness, and it is this silent belief that life is supposed to feel good most of the time. When something feels uncomfortable, uncertain, heavy, or painful, the mind quickly assumes that something is wrong. You begin searching for what needs to be fixed. You ask yourself why you are not happier. You assume you have failed somewhere, but this expectation itself is the problem. Life was never designed to feel pleasant all the time. It includes gain and loss, praise and criticism, health and illness, connection and separation. Buddhism speaks of these natural dualities as part of the human condition. They are not punishments, they are not personal attacks, they are simply the nature of existence. Yet when you expect constant comfort, every moment of discomfort feels like a mistake. This expectation creates quiet resistance. When something unpleasant happens, instead of experiencing it directly, you immediately argue with it. You think, "This should not be happening." You try to mentally rewrite reality. You replay conversations. You wish the past had unfolded differently. You imagine alternative outcomes. But none of this changes what is already here. It only increases suffering. Buddhism teaches radical acceptance, not in a passive way, but in a wise way. Acceptance means recognizing reality without adding unnecessary mental conflict. It means understanding that discomfort does not mean life is broken. It means realizing that sadness, boredom, frustration, and confusion are natural experiences that do not require immediate correction. When you demand that life always feel good, you become fragile. Even small inconveniences disturb your peace. A delayed message creates anxiety. A small criticism feels overwhelming. A minor setback ruins your mood. This fragility does not come from weakness. It comes from unrealistic expectations. But when you accept that life includes discomfort, something shifts inside you. You stop being surprised by difficulty. You stop treating pain as an emergency. You begin to meet experiences with steadiness instead of panic. You may still feel disappointment, but you do not collapse under it. You may feel sadness, but you do not interpret it as failure. There is a profound difference between happiness and peace. Happiness is an emotional state. It rises and falls. Peace is a deeper stability beneath emotional movement. Peace does not require everything to feel pleasant. It requires acceptance of what is present. Imagine sitting by a river. The water flows constantly. Sometimes it moves gently, sometimes it rushes. You do not demand that the river remain calm forever. You observe its movement. In the same way, your life will move through seasons. Some will feel bright and joyful, others will feel slow or heavy. If you insist that only the joyful seasons are acceptable, you will spend much of your life resisting reality. Acceptance does not mean you stop improving your life. It means you stop fighting what already exists in this moment. You can work toward change while still acknowledging what is currently true. You can take action without being emotionally dependent on immediate results. When you no longer demand that life feel good all the time, your nervous system relaxes. You stop scanning for constant pleasure. You stop fearing ordinary discomfort. You allow emotions to pass through naturally. And in that allowance, you discover something far more stable than forced happiness. You discover resilience. Resilience is the quiet confidence that you can handle both joy and sorrow. It is the understanding that your worth does not disappear when life feels hard. It is the ability to sit in discomfort without believing it will last forever. Happiness cannot be commanded. It cannot be maintained permanently. But peace can be practiced. Peace grows when you stop arguing with reality. Peace deepens when you accept impermanence. Peace becomes your foundation when you understand that life's fluctuations are not enemies, but teachers. So stop demanding constant pleasure. Stop believing you must feel good every day to be successful or spiritually mature. Stop interpreting discomfort as failure. Instead, practice being at peace with what is. Meet each moment honestly. Allow emotions to rise and fall. Trust that no state is permanent. When you release the expectation of constant happiness, you remove enormous pressure from your life. And without that pressure, something gentle begins to emerge. Not forced joy, not artificial positivity, but a grounded calm that stays with you through both light and shadow. And from that calm, happiness visits naturally, without effort, without demand, and without fear of losing it. Now you understand something most people never question. Happiness does not work the way you were taught. It is not something you chase, demand, manufacture, or force into existence. The harder you grip it, the further it moves away. The more you insist on feeling good all the time, the more pressure you create, and that pressure quietly becomes suffering. For years, you may have believed that happiness was a goal to reach, that once you fixed yourself enough, achieved enough, healed enough, earned enough, you would finally arrive at a permanent state of peace. But life does not operate like that. There is no final emotional destination where nothing disturbs you ever again. There is only this moment, constantly changing. Buddhism does not promise constant joy. It offers something more stable and far more powerful, freedom from unnecessary suffering. And that freedom begins when you stop fighting reality, when you stop treating sadness as failure, when you stop comparing your journey, when you stop clinging to outcomes, when you stop chasing endless stimulation, when you stop judging yourself for being human, when you stop demanding that life feel pleasant all the time. You were never meant to feel happy every day. You were meant to be aware. You were meant to be present. You were meant to experience the full range of human emotions without turning them into identity. Happiness is not the goal. Clarity is. Acceptance is. Inner stability is. When you stop chasing happiness, something unexpected happens. Your nervous system relaxes. Your mind softens. You stop measuring your worth by your mood. You begin to appreciate simple moments without trying to squeeze more out of them. You allow discomfort to exist without panic. You allow joy to exist without clinging. And slowly, gently, happiness appears not as an achievement, not as a trophy, but as a quiet companion. It comes and goes naturally, without pressure. It visits when resistance fades. It stays longer when you stop demanding it stay forever. The real transformation is not becoming permanently happy. It is becoming stable regardless of what you feel. It is knowing that sadness will pass. It is knowing that joy will pass. It is trusting yourself to remain steady through both. Stop forcing yourself to be happy. Stop chasing an emotion as if it defines your worth. Instead, practice awareness, practice compassion, practice acceptance. Build inner stability. Live truthfully in the present moment. Because when you stop trying so hard to feel good, you finally create the space where peace can grow. And from peace, happiness flows naturally, effortless, quiet, and free.